Hello and welcome to this special edition of Work Psychology, where we explore the psychology of work, well-being, and everything in between. I'm your host, Dr. Danielle Lombard-Sims and CEO of Talentergy. And today I am joined by two very special guests, Dr. Fedoria Ruggles and Tikwa Gray-Austin. And they're going to share with us their stories as we talk about our topic for the month. The topic this month, as you know, is breast cancer awareness. October is the month that we dedicate to education, early detection, and supporting those that's been affected by breast cancer. But we don't want to do it just in October, because as we know, navigating serious health challenges, it impacts us all year. And so what we're going to do with our guests is we're going to explore how can we support one another during this time, and what do we need to do to make sure that we are taking care of our mind, our body, and our spirit. With that, I'd like to welcome both of our guests. Dr. Fedoria Ruggles is a public health expert, clinical researcher, and an advocate for health equity. She holds a PhD in molecular epidemiology and currently serves as the project director at the University of Memphis. Dr. Ruggles has led major cancer awareness initiatives, including lowering breast cancer rates among African American women in the Mid-South, and serves on multiple health-focused boards. We're also honored to be joined today by Tikwa Gray-Austin, a proud native of Memphis with over 12 years of healthcare recruiting. She holds a bachelor's degree in business management from the Jackson State University, and she has a master's in organizational leadership from Belhaven University. A dedicated member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Ms. Gray-Austin is also a mother, a daughter, and a resilient breast cancer survivor. Ladies, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So I would love to start, Tikwa, with you. Tell us more about, your journey from the time you were diagnosed and how did you manage that diagnosis?
Well, it's funny. My mom she works in healthcare. She retired from Methodist after 35 years of service as a nurse. So I was in the shower working in healthcare. You learn how to listen to your body. Listen, take the time and do your breast exams while you're in the shower. So I was in the shower, I felt the lump on top of my breast. I got out of the shower, I said, Mom, what do you think? She's like, I'll call your friend, go get a mammogram. My girlfriend actually worked for me at Methodist, now is at Regional 1, director of radiology. So I went to go get a mammogram, and true enough, every week I was going back and forth to the doctor. Finally, I got the diagnosis. This was October of 2023. Oh, wow. I had breast cancer, but it was stage 0. So it caught it super early. Yes. Super early. Let's see.
And thankfully, because you were doing self-exams,
absolutely.
you were able to catch it early.
Absolutely, yes. So I ended up having 2 surgeries in 2023. Wow. October 27th, I had my first surgery, a lumpectomy. Got a call back a week later. They didn't get all of it. So December 20th, I was back in surgery again. So literally, my 2024, I had 6 rounds of chemo, 20 sessions of radiation. So it's been a journey.
Yeah. And what about now? I mean, as you think about, that was just 2 years ago.
Right.
That wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
When you think about what you went through and where you are today, what were some of the things that you think, these were some of the lessons, or these were some of the things I wish someone had told me, so that as you were going through the journey, you may have been a little bit more prepared?
Honestly, I think God gave me cancer, not to torment me or anything, just to grab my attention. Yeah. Because in the stage 0, you still have to be thankful in the midst of.
That's right.
So that's how I deal with it.
Yeah.
So I still smile and push through. But once it's all over, like this year, I've been struggling with identity. Yes. So I'm like, what did I just do? Did I just go through chemo? Did I just go through radiation? Like, oh my gosh. My daughter's there with me. She's crying. I'm like, what happened last year? Yeah. So now it's like a recollection. Yeah. How do I move forward? Yeah. And then the entire time I worked, I never took off. Every 3 weeks I had chemo. I took off on Wednesday, Thursday, back to work on Friday. No one knew. And then when I did say something, they were like, I had no clue. You weren't supposed to know. Yeah. That was my battle between my family, me, and God. Yeah,
yeah. And that's why it's so important we're talking about this, because, the show is about work psychology, but in reality, we navigate serious health conditions while we're still working,
True.
while we're still
Very
going to
true.
work, like living life like everything's normal, but it may not be normal. So, Dr. Ruggles, I'm curious, from your perspective as a health equity advocate, what can people do during these times to, become more aware, to support people that may be going through this and not know how to respond?
Well, one of the first things I would say is to take someone with you to your appointments. It's always good to have, whether it be a spouse or a close friend or a family member, because sometimes you're receiving, as she said, a lot of information all at the same time. So it's good to have someone there that can kind of process, that can take notes, and then after you get back home, you can kind of decompress and then review what was shared with you at that appointment. Another thing is that there's always a lot of uncertainty in between appointments, in between treatments, and you may have some anxiety and things like that. And so it's good to do some sort of self-care and not try to worry as much, and to also try to keep your norm. Like she said, she continued to go to work, and in those spaces, things that you would do to enjoy yourself, to try to still maintain some of those activities as well. And then in the workplace, she didn't want to be viewed like something was going on or abnormal, things like that, to try to keep that sense of normalcy. So when we're surrounding with people that are going through that, it's important to help them maintain that identity, help them maintain that sense of normalcy as well, as they go about their day. And, they don't want to be a burden, or they don't want to, bring it up as a constant topic of conversation. And they might try to mask sometimes the feelings that they're having, or if they're feeling sick or nauseated or things like that, and, not want to bring attention to it, but be there as a constant support and have that consistent presence there as well.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. You're right. When you go to the doctor and they tell you that, I'm sure at that point you probably stopped listening.
Yeah,
And so
I
bringing
think it
someone with
is.
you
Right.
is smart, because you're right. I mean, I could see the look on your face. You probably were thinking, wait, what did you just say?
I did. Honestly, I did. I heard the words, and I was laying back on the table, and I just remember tears. I cried so hard. My mom was sitting beside me. I didn't even see her leave the room. I was like, where'd she go? And she was already talking to my friend and crying. I was like, what did I just hear? Well, I just turned 45. What's going on? This doesn't happen to a 45-year-old. But to put it in perspective, my mom was like, would you rather me have it or your daughter have it or you? And I do it all again. Because definitely don't want my mom to have it.
That's right.
Especially my daughter.
Yeah.
So you just hold firm to God's hand and
That's right.
keep pushing.
That's right. Tikwa, as you're talking, you said something that I want to come back to, and that is, what do you mean? I'm only 45. I'm not supposed to have breast cancer. I think that we do that. I think sometimes we have these myths and misconceptions about, when it should happen, if it would happen. Does it run in my family? I'm not at risk because I'm not predisposed, or things like that. What are some of the myths or misconceptions that you would like to share with our audience, so that they don't, think, oh, this can't impact me? I think that would be a very important conversation for us to have with our audience. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like for us to take just a really short break and come back. And when we come back, let's reignite this conversation so that we can make sure that our audience is aware. There's no age limit, but there are resources and there's support that we can provide for women who are going through this journey. We'll be right back. I invite you to watch Work Psychology with Dr. Delos on Let's Talk 901, airing on Mondays at 7 p.m. on Channel 17 and Channel 1091 on Comcast. Welcome back, everyone. So we left with asking our guests today, so what are some of the myths and misconceptions people might have about breast cancer? And so, Tikwa, I'd love to start with you, and Dr. Ruggles, please join in as well.
I think for me, especially the age I was, this only happens to old people. Or you hear that it's mostly the African American race gets it faster or more. But cancer doesn't have an age. It doesn't have a gender. It does not have a race or religion, any of that. When I was going to West Clinic, I saw so many different types of people, different nationalities, gender. It doesn't pick. It does not discriminate. by any means.
And you mentioned gender. We don't think about men, but men can get breast cancer.
Absolutely.
Dr. Ruggles, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in on that. A lot of times we forget about the men in our lives, but I've been able to encounter several men who kind of go, and I would like to just pause and take a moment to advocate for men, to prioritize their health. A lot of times men will just let it go, and it can be unchecked, and then by the time they do get it checked out, it's like stage 4. And versus if in her case, they caught it early and were able to do certain treatments. And so another myth is that breast cancer diagnosis is not a death sentence. A lot of people, immediately go left, with diagnosis, but it's one of the most curative cancers that we have. There are a lot of new techniques, a lot of new treatments. Another myth is in regards to clinical trials. A lot of times, especially within our population, we become anti-research and clinical trials because of our past experiences, but clinical trials now are on the cutting edge when it comes to treatment and eradicating this cancer. So that's another myth I would like to debunk when it comes to that. And then, as to her point, it affects all ages. Now, if you have a family history of it, it's recommended that you get mammograms earlier, regularly, even at age 30 as well. The regular age is 40 that people start going to get their yearly mammograms. I turned 40 this year and I had to get my first one. So I've been preaching so much to others and advocating for it, and then having to actually do them. I have to practice what I preach.
That's right, of course.
So I actually had to do that this year. So I would definitely advocate for that. And any myths that you may hear, a lot of times we hear stuff by word of mouth or in passing in our community, but to do the research, do the homework, and get credible advice and knowledge to go throughout your journey.
Yes, I love that. My doctor told me to get off WebMD. If I have questions, call her, because I do think it's great that we have access to so much information these days, but sometimes that information may not be accurate.
True.
Getting the accurate information, participating in clinical research trials, getting your mammograms at the age of 40. Thank you both for being examples. I scheduled mine as well. I haven't gone yet, but I scheduled mine. And, and just, making sure that you understand your health, making sure that you understand your body. Tikwa, I loved when you said, listen to your body.
Yes.
It doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your gender. If something's wrong, you usually know. And sometimes we ignore it. Why? Because of work, because of school, because of home, because of everything else, or sometimes because of fear.
True.
And so with this, the fear can be dissipated if you can get detected early. So
Absolutely.
I would love to, just from your perspective, ladies, what's one thing that you hope, as the audience is listening to us today, what's one thing that you hope they may do differently? What's one thing that they can do to support those who may be going through the journey, or for themselves if they've been recently diagnosed?
I think for me, it would be definitely continue to hold on to God's hand, and you got to have hope.
Yes.
You cannot make it without it. You have to have hope, and just in a good village, supporters. That makes a difference. I have an older brother, just him and I. He went to every treatment with me. And he's a lieutenant on the fire department. He went to every treatment. He was there. So you need that. You need that supportive system.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would just tack on to that and advocate for everyone getting regularly screening mammograms. Like, do not take it for granted. Do the self-breast exams, get screened, because it's better if you catch it at an earlier stage. She mentioned earlier when it came to the African-American population, we get diagnosed about 40% more than some of our counterparts. And then by the time we do get diagnosed, we have a worse prognosis because it's at a later stage. Versus if, in her case, we were able to catch it early, then we would have a better prognosis and outcome. I would also say too, is she spoke to the hope aspect, to stay positive, like positive vibes only. Like, I strongly advocate that. Not the whole woe is me and, my life is over, but to maintain a positive mindset, a positive attitude, and that can definitely impact your healing and your restoration too as well. So.
Yes. Mental health is so important to physical health.
Yes,
And so I love that you both highlighted the hope, the positivity, the positive thinking. That's all related to the psychology of work as well. So as I think about, some of the things that you talked about, some of the myths that you talked about, avoiding the appointment because you don't think it's going to impact you. Go early.
Yeah.
The other myth that I've heard, and I just wanted to get your perspective on this, is people are afraid that the mammogram will actually give them cancer because of the treatment. Can you both speak to that?
No, it definitely doesn't give it to you. It's really not even the treatment. It's like your breast is placed into a machine. It's like some slight pressure and compression to kind of highlight some of the areas. There's electromagnetic waves that are kind of giving you that image or a picture, just kind of like if you had an X-ray, but it's a little bit clearer, more detail, and they can see all aspects of the entire breast. So they do different angles and different projections as well. So there's no treatment happening. It's not invasive. Nobody's doing anything to you. It's simply just an imagery that is taking place. So.
Thank you, because I've heard that, and I'm like, why would you think that? But people they're afraid. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the information, and so they make those things up. Some things. Tikwa, you shared with me, and I hope you don't mind me bringing it up. You mentioned during your journey, you didn't know that there was a possibility for hair loss at such an early stage of your journey. Would you mind sharing with our audience what you shared with me?
So, of course, once I was diagnosed, I started reaching out to other people who had it. It was like, you're going to lose your hair after maybe sessions 2 or 3. I went to 1 session. 1. Wow. And I had long braids then, like waistline braids. Now you sitting at home watching television, you do a little scratch at the nape of your neck. I did a little scratch and about 4 braids came out at one time. I was like, Mom, my hair's coming out. And she's like, you sure? I said, yeah, come here. She came in, and true enough, she just took my braids out. I just take them out. Before she can even get them out, they were sliding.
They were coming out.
They were sliding out. She was crying and taking them down. I'm just like, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
Gotta do it. So a very emotional time. My daughter was there, and she's like, she wouldn't let me leave out the house without a hat on. Mom, put your hat on, don't forget your hat. But as time went on, she's like, you don't have to wear a hat anymore, you're fine. She's used to it by then, but the initial part of everything is so shocking and hurtful, and you're wondering, why me?
Yeah.
Why me? But I've learned, instead of saying, why me, why not me? Why not?
And what can what can you teach others? I mean, I heard you talk about in your story your daughter, and you've mentored her several times in your journey. What are you hoping for your daughter? What have you taught your daughter, or learned from your daughter as you both were going through this journey together?
Kids are much stronger than what we think they are.
Yeah.
More resilient than what we think they are. For me, it's just her. And she would tell me, Mom, you don't feel good, come here and lay down. Like she's like a little nurse already. So, yeah.
Just again, both of you talked about the support. Both of you talked about the wellness, the resources. Any last words for our audience? Anything that you'd like to share before we let you go today? I feel like I could talk to both of you all day today. Any last words you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I'd like to say, to her point, like, no one is in this journey alone or has to be in this journey alone. There are a lot of resources out there, support groups as well that you can go to. When she mentioned her hair loss, there are certain organizations that customize in wigs and special bling, and it's, to kind of help you along your journey as well. So stay connected to support groups, tap into all of those resources as well, and that you are not alone in this journey.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies, thank you again for just sharing your experiences. We're going to go to a short break, and during the break, I want you to hopefully go and look at some of the resources that we've been talking about today. We'll be back soon, and when we come back, we will wrap up with our guests today about, again, the journey, what you can do to support those who may be going through the journey, and also some resources that will be here for support as well. I invite you to watch Work Psychology with Dr. Delos on Let's Talk 901, airing on Mondays at 7 p.m. on Channel 17 and Channel 1091 on Comcast. So if you're just tuning in with us today, we have with us 2 very important guests, Dr. Fedoria Ruggles and Tikwa Gray Austin, and they're sharing with us more information around breast cancer awareness, both their journey as well as their expertise. And I want to pick up, ladies, where we left off. So, Tikwa, you were telling us that your mom is in healthcare. You, of course, work in healthcare, and that you knew what to do. Sometimes one of the things that I hear from individuals, especially people in our communities, is, you know, I don't know what I should be doing or what I should be doing next. How were you able to manage, you know, the next steps, and how would you, tell someone to advocate for themselves if someone were to say, "Oh no, you're too young. You know, you probably don't have it. Don't worry about it."
Get a second opinion. Sometimes get a third opinion. Because the first two may not necessarily be the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Get with someone that you feel comfortable with. Get a physician that you can talk openly to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would just tag on to that and say that, you know, it's important that you advocate for yourself and you have a physician care team that you like, that you can communicate with, that can have a multidisciplinary approach, that are communicating with each other. So take, for instance, if you're getting chemo and radiation, then the oncologist and the radiation oncologist need to be in communication with each other, along with your PCP if you have any other health issues. So making sure that there's communication that's going on. And then that you have the treatment plan that is best for you, you know, depending on your stage and your diagnosis. You know, it may be surgery, or it may be chemo, it may be radiation. And now we have hormone therapy as well, and things of that nature. We have immunotherapy. So what would be the best option, the best plan for you? And so making sure that you all are having that conversation and that you have that consensus and you're on the same page when it comes to what's best for you and your health outcomes.
I love that. You know, having a team you can trust. I agree. I mean, this is your health, you know, and you have to have a team you can trust. I love what you said as well about making sure that the care team is communicating, not just with the patient, but with each other, and that there's a coordination of what needs to happen. I love both of you talked about the support from your families and making sure that you've got that support as well. In addition to family, are there any other resources, any other support areas where people can turn to get more information if they need it around breast cancer?
You want to start? Well, I know of a few. I used to lead the Memphis Breast Cancer Consortium, and we developed a resource guide that is available for all needs, everything from transportation. People may have issues getting to and from their appointments, to gift cards, to food, because sometimes your diet can change as well, and then resources for medications and things of that nature. So there's resources guides out there, along with support groups. There's several support groups in our area. I know there's Karen and Sharon and Sisters Network as well. So tap into a support group and they can connect you to a lot of places and additional resources that you may not be aware of. And then also there's the American Cancer Society. We have a local chapter here that does the Making Strides for breast cancer. I sit on their executive board, and so we're having our annual Making Strides walk coming up next Saturday at Shelby Farms. So connecting with organizations like that as well can definitely link you to a lot of resources that are available in the community too.
And how would they find that? So I didn't know that those resources existed outside of the walk. You mentioned the Breast Consortium, the Breast Awareness Consortium. Where would they find more information around that?
That website is mbcc.live. Or if you do a Google search that types in Memphis Breast Cancer Consortium, it should pop up. And then there's a PDF copy of their website, of that resource guide on the website.
Good. And what if someone wants to participate in the walk? What if they weren't aware? Is it too late to participate?
No, it's not too late. We still have teams. You can still register. It's going to be at Shelby Farms this weekend. So you can go to AmericanCancerSociety.org. And if you select Memphis, Tennessee region, and it should pop up for Making Strides for this weekend. And you can feel free to register, bring the family out. We're out, have things for kids as well. There's different vendors. So it's definitely a fun activity for everyone to participate in.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I know it's a great way for donations as well, because you know, we cannot stop looking for research. I think that we've made such great strides. You mentioned it, Dr. Ruggles, in terms of, You know, if we get early detection, if we catch it early, Tikwa, you're an excellent example of someone who was a survivor because you caught it early. And the one way that we can continue our research is, of course, through those donations. So you can get your fitness in, you can come out and walk, and you can support as well. So ladies, as we continue our discussion around this very important topic around breast cancer awareness, in terms of, I do want to go back to something that we brought up, and that was around gender. In terms of men, it may be a little bit more awkward for men to, you know, talk about breast cancer because it's so rare. What advice might you have for someone who may be going through this that may be male and may not be female? Any advice for anyone that may be watching today?
Well, I would say to pay attention to your body. She mentioned that, you know, she listened to her body. Like men, a lot of times they're always on the go. They're the provider. They're working a lot of hours, and they don't take the time to pay attention to their bodies. Yes. And I know of one particular incident with a patient that he didn't come to the doctor until basically his chest was like oozing and things like that. Like you notice something and you just brush it off, or I'll deal with it later. And then it progressively gets worse and worse. So to pay attention, to catch early signs and symptoms, and then to be proactive and to act on it and go seek the medical attention that is needed.
Yeah. Now, oozing obviously is a sign or a symptom. Any other signs or symptoms? Tikwa, you talked about you felt a lump early during a self-exam. Any other signs or symptoms that people should be aware of that you can think about?
I think the lump is, but other times there may be itching, scratching, peeling, or, you know, any dips in the skin or things like that. So just kind of being in tune with your body, and if you notice a change and this is manifesting over and over, then okay, there may be something wrong and there may be something I need to investigate.
I agree. You cannot assume. You know, you may get advice from a friend, they be like, but I had that they just aspirated and it went away. You can't assume that you just have it aspirated.
Right.
Go get it checked out.
Yeah. You know, because again, I'm a self-admitted WebMD person. I think I have every disease known to mankind, and I've diagnosed myself with everything, right? And that's what we do. And then we become so fearful that we don't get the actual diagnosis that could actually save lives. I do have one question. So I've been in human resources for over 29 years, and one of the things that I often got asked was, you know, what do we do? Do we send cards? Do we acknowledge? Do we talk about it? What would you advise a coworker or a leader who might have an employee who's going through this on how to manage that?
For me, at Regional 1, our HR team is so awesome. So awesome. There will be times we'll have a team gathering, and they'll be like, oh, Tikwa, here's a gift for you. I'm like, y'all thought about me? I'm thinking about my situation, and they're thinking about me. So just to have that team, and know that you have that support there, makes a difference, a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like receiving a little note, like just say, hey, I'm thinking of you, or a card, or sometimes I know people to give books or words of encouragement or thoughts, things that they can take with them to therapy. Some people like to make blankets or quilts and things like that they can take. So little things like that to bring joy and to help kind of take the edge off a little bit, but to kind of give them a sort of reassurance and support, and you're not in this by yourself. And there are people who are thinking about you and who are caring about you, to kind of share along as they go through that journey.
Thank you both so much for sharing your experience, your expertise, and your journey with us today. I know our audience gained a lot because I've learned so much from our conversation today, ladies. I just want to say, you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but we need to be paying attention to our health every day. I mean, both of you really talked about self-health, self-advocacy, resources, and it takes a community. It takes a community. So make sure that we are supporting one another. Ladies, thank you again for sharing your resources with us. And to our audience, thank you for joining in to this very important conversation. We certainly hope you left with a lot more information, resources, and education. Please take care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit, and have a great evening.